Unreroute the rivers, let the damned water beat. There's some people down the way that's thirsty, so let the liquid spirit free.
Today we're going to be making the chocolate palette. So at the moment I've got melted dark chocolate and milk chocolate in here. I've melted over bain-marie, so it's a pan of simmering water, the bowl over top of it, not touching the water so the chocolate doesn't burn. You don't want it boiling because you don't want the steam to get into the chocolate because it'll affect the chocolate. You'll start getting lumps. So what we do is just pour this into a big bowl so we can work with it. Then what we've got here is our whipping cream. We've got glucose in there as well. And what we've done, we've gently heated this. We're not bringing it to the boil because we just want to slowly melt the glucose into it. And then what we're going to do is slowly, in 3 parts, add this to the chocolate. Now they're both around the same sort of temperature. You don't want any one being a lot hotter or a lot colder than the other because it'll affect how it mixes together. And we just gently start working this in. You'll notice the chocolate start going thicker to start off with. It's almost like it's going to thicken up and it's not going to work. So we do, and a bit more of the cream. And you don't want to just go, hell for leather with it, whip it everywhere, you get splash cream everywhere, chocolate, and it's just a mess. Just got to work with it nice and slowly. Once it starts getting a bit glossier, last part of the cream. Then we've got here, we've got a soft butter. Gently just going to whisk that in as well, and that emulsifies into it. That helps with the glossiness and it also helps enrich the flavour, so it helps coat the palate when you eat it. You need obviously to have a little bit of heat in this so it actually melts the chocolate, otherwise you're just going to have lumps of chocolate. But obviously you don't want it to be too hot. Once again, it'll affect the chocolate, it'll burn the chocolate, it won't emulsify properly, and you're more likely to split the mix. If you split the mix, all the fats are going to come out of the cream and of the chocolate, and then you're just left with a mess. Once it's set, you'll have a fat layer on top of it, and it just doesn't look nice, it doesn't eat as well, the texture's completely different. Last final whisk, make sure all the butter's melted in. Nothing worse when you eat this dish is getting a nugget of butter in there. Scrape the sides down. Just give it a gentle tap. Get rid of some of those air bubbles. Make sure you don't lose your Maurice in there. There's nothing worse than a dirty Maurice. Then you've got our moulds already lined. What we've got here is pat 14, which is basically crepes, so the sort of French pancakes you get. They've been dehydrated and then flaked down to make a crumb, which looks like this. So it's almost like cornflakes. And that's just added with a little bit of melted butter, melted chocolate even, sorry. And that's melted down and then mixed together and then set on a tray with the rings in it, and that's kept in the fridge. So when you add your mix to it, it gets an instant sort of shell around the outside and helps with the setting process straight off. And we pour this into a jug. Once again, make sure you scrape the sides and base down. Don't want to waste anything. This is all your profits right here. Weighed out recipe. Waste not, want not. Right, and then prepared earlier, we've got some liquid blood orange centre. So this blood orange puree, we add a little bit of sugar and water to this, so stock syrup, just to add to the flavour so it's not too tart. And these have been frozen off. So what we do, we pour halfway up the moulds with the chocolate. Take our centres, we make sure we drop them into the centre. Don't worry about pushing them down, their own weight will push them into it, but also as they go down, they start setting the chocolate around them, thus encasing them in the chocolate. If you push them down to the base, when they melt, they make the base too soggy and you'll lose your liquid centre out of the base of them. So just let them drop in, they'll find their own place in the chocolate. Make sure you don't do too close to the edge either. So obviously, once again, if they're too close to the edge, when they liquid centres dissolve, they'll break down the side of the thing, and then you'll have a leak in the side of your thing, the side of your Palet. And gently top them up. You want to pour directly onto the centre rather than around the side of it. Around the side of it, you're liable to knock the centre out of line. Let's do these last ones. Now I know I've got enough mix for them. Nothing worse than filling all your moulds, getting halfway through it and realise you haven't got enough mix to top them all. Go in with the grease, make sure we're getting all of it out the bottom. Like that. Pop your centres away so they get cold. They get kept in the freezer for a couple of weeks, they're going to be fine. These can either get set in the fridge, or you can set them at room temperature, depending on how hot or cold your kitchen is. It's always best just to give them a little blast in the fridge, just to get them going, say 10-15 minutes. If you've got a nice cool pastry kitchen, you can leave them out the side, and they're set nice and gently, and you'll get a nice creamy sort of ganache finish to it. It's very rich, nice padding texture. Now we're going to plate up the chocolate Palet. So what we start off with, we've got the blood orange fluid gel, so this is the blood orange puree, and then what we do is pour this up with agar and set it like a jelly. We use agar because when we blend it to make the puree, rather than using gelatin, it just stays as water. This goes to a more sort of fluid sort of state. It's kind of like toothpaste sort of way it holds itself. So rather than being a liquid on the plate, it kind of comes up to a point. Then we've got our Palet here. Once again, we don't want to overheat this too much. They'll melt. You literally just want to free it from the edge. It's not freed enough, go around again. Now if you are using these straight from the fridge, they will take a little bit more to get out than if you're just doing them from the side. So you've got a nice shine on it. A little bit of powder, that's to sit our sorbet on. little foot hole for it to sit in. And then we've got our blood orange sorbet. It's blood orange puree again with stock syrup and a little bit of stabilising agent that we put in there. And that's put in the Paco jet, which basically it's a machine that rather than churning it like conventional sorbets, it uses a blade. You freeze the block solid, blade go through it, and it slices them into really sort of fine ice crystals. And you get a much smoother sorbet that way, and ice creams. Bit smooth.
They might have got stuff at the bottom of the sink.
Got pistachio twill, basic twill mix, which is equal quantities of icing sugar, flour, egg whites and butter, and then we've added a little bit of pistachio compound to that, and we've got the roasted pistachios across the top. We finish the dish with a little bit of orange salt. Just across the top. And that just helps cut through the richness.